Hey there, Dr. Bird here. It's time for story time. And I'm just going to tell you right up front that my adorable cat, Minerva, really just needed to be in my lap right now. So I'm just rolling with it again. If things seem a bit strange, that would be why. She just needed to be with a human right now. So there you go. We just roll with it. I am going to jump right in because we're doing quite a bit today. I think even longer than yesterday. So we're going to read part of chapter 26 of Genesis. And then I'm going to do so part of Genesis 26 and reading the part that's about the like father, like son part. And then we're going to read 27 and 28. 28's kind of short, but 27 and 28 give us the story of the Jacob and Esau that, they're fighting over the blessing and the inheritance. So, and it's interesting because of what it tells us about marriages. And when you have Rebekah siding with one of her sons over and against her husband or her man, Isaac, and their other son, Esau. And what do we see in terms of the way they relate to one another? What kinds of things are we learning about this relationship called marriage? Why is she having to be conniving? Why is she doing that? Right? Is that the kind of thing we actually want in marriages for today, that women actually don't have enough power or aren't respected enough to be able to be given a voice to have a conversation about what they think should happen, so that they actually have to be sneaky? Like, is that actually what we want in relationships today? I don't think so, but this is an example that's being set for us. And so we're given kind of, in a sense, a twofold problematic view here. We're given women being depicted as being conniving and sneaky. And so that model, there are two things I was trying to point out about this. We see what happens when in situations where women in particular, minority voiced people, are forced into situations like this where they have to be sneaky. What was the thing I wanted to, well, there were 2 points, and obviously I can't remember my second point. So whatever. Let's get back to just reading, and it'll probably occur to me at some point. And if not, that's okay. So we're going to get some issues around sex. We're going to get some issues around a relationship called marriage, that we call marriage. I don't believe there's anything inappropriate in terms of physical harm, but we do have the others. So let's just jump right in, right? Story time, Genesis 26 and parts of 26, 27, 28. Now, there was a famine in the land besides the former famine that had occurred in the days of Abraham. And Isaac went to Gerar to King Abimelech of the Philistines. And now remember, in chapter 20, that's where Abraham and Sarah went, was to Gerar, and had the second development of the encounter with the king. And he very much went out of his way to not. The narrator made it very clear that this king did not touch Sarah. So we have the situation with Isaac and Rebekah. The Lord appeared to Isaac and said, "Do not go down to Egypt. Settle in the land that I will show you. Reside in this land as an alien, and I will be with you and will bless you. For to you and to your descendants I will give all these lands, and I will fulfill the oath that I swore to your father Abraham. I will make your offspring as numerous as the stars of heaven, and will give to your offspring all of these lands. And all the nations of the earth shall gain blessing for themselves through your offspring, because Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws." So that is perhaps a reference back to the command to go sacrifice Isaac, right? When he obeyed his voice, kept his charge. Okay. Because we don't have any commandments yet, right? Let's keep in mind, this is before we have what we refer to as the 10 commandments, which are numbered differently in at least three significant differences between the way those are numbered between religious traditions. But we don't have the Torah. We don't have the laws yet. We don't have any of those written down, right? Those are many generations to come, right? All we have is the command that God gave to Abraham to leave his family behind, and then to sacrifice his son. Okay. So Abraham obeyed. Okay. So Isaac settled in Gerar. When the men of the place asked him about his woman, my translation says wife, he said, "She's my sister." For he was afraid to say my woman, thinking, or else the men of the place might kill me for the sake of Rebekah, because she is attractive in appearance. When Isaac had been there a long time, King Abimelech of the Philistines looked out of a window and saw him fondling his woman Rebekah. So Abimelech called for Isaac and said, "So she is your woman. Why then did you say she's my sister?" Isaac said to him, "Because I thought I might die because of her." Abimelech said, "What is this you have done to us? One of the people might easily have lain with your woman, and you would have brought guilt upon us." So Abimelech warned all the people, saying, "Whoever touches this man or his woman shall be put to death." We're not going to have that same foolishness that we had with his father, right? So we could have a long conversation about what purpose does this serve in the narrative? Why is it that these men are having this issue? But I think if you really want to I think the best way to understand, at least in their context, what's going on here is we should look at this through the lens of politics and power, right? And that's not what my focus is for this series, but that's what's going on. They're making claims about certain types of people. Are they righteous or not? Are they interacting well with the people who become the Israelites, and their descendants? Are these people that they live around actually behaving well or not? There's an element of needing to justify going after the people of Canaan. I think there may be an element of like father, like son, in whatever tragic way. I don't know all the reasons, to be honest. I don't know all the reasons why someone would do this, why you would have this particular kind of a story very, very, very similarly, right? Transpiring between, father and son, and between father twice. We had a little exchange about that after the recording this week. I don't have all the reasons. I don't really need all the reasons. What I think is interesting is that it does show up, and that this is a form of a trope, form of some sort of a thing that's being said, in relation to multiple people. So there's all kinds of things you can do with that. What I think is also interesting for this context then is this idea of women as property. Valuable property for sure, but this idea of women are beautiful and men will do what they want to men of power will do what they want to go get and acquire a woman, right? Again, we're seeing this, people do understandably kind of get caught up in, oh my gosh, that's exactly what happened with Abraham twice. Why is this happening with Isaac? And let's not forget that it's all happening around a woman's body. So, and she doesn't have a voice either here. And it's shorter for sure, but still. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the end of this chapter, verse 34, and move on into the story about Esau and Jacob. So Isaac and Rebekah doing their thing. At the end of that chapter, when Esau was 40 years old, so same age, 40 years old. So Isaac and Rebekah are the parents of Esau and Jacob. Okay. When Esau, their son, was 40 years old, he took Judith, daughter of Beeri the Hittite. My translation says married, so I'm going to say he took. And Basemath, daughter of Elon of Hittite. So he had two women who became his wives. And they made life bitter for Isaac and Rebekah. So one of their sons chose two women who did not get along well with them or something. We don't know the reasons. Is this, some of the Hittite people get along fine with Abraham and his descendants. So what is this trying, is this a part of the setup? Is this, you can look at it however you want to, but two women, not a problem. Okay. Let's just be very clear about that. Not a problem that he is married to two women at once. So marriage is not one man, one woman, right? Okay, I'm going to move on and keep going. So, chapter 27. When Isaac was old and his eyes were dim, so that he could not see, he called his elder son Esau and said to him, "My son." And he answered, "Here I am." Same saying when God called out to Abraham several times. "Hineni, here I am." He said, "See, I am old. I do not know the day of my death. Now then, take your weapons, your quiver and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt game for me. Then prepare for me savory food, such as I like, and bring it to me to eat, so that I may bless you before I die." Now, Rebekah was listening when Isaac spoke to his son Esau. So here's the thing. I'd love for you to be thinking about this, not just through reading this with the grain of the story, but read it critically and read it with a bit of a challenge. Do we really want to agree with how things go down? Do we want to affirm this is a great example for relationships? I'm pretty sure I'm just going to go out on a limb and say, no, this is not how we want things to go. We'd like things to be talked about. Is there a reason why Rebekah doesn't like Esau? And, is what's going on here? Let's talk it out. And of course, in this context, also, there is this scarcity mindset of there isn't a lot of blessing to go around and only one son gets it. Problematic in and of itself, right? So Rebekah was listening when Isaac spoke to his son Esau. So when Esau went to the field to hunt for game and bring it, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, "I heard your father say to your brother Esau, 'Bring me game and prepare for me savory food to eat, that I may bless you before the Lord before I die.' And it's only going to be one, right? Now, therefore, my son, obey my word as I command you. Go to the flock and get me 2 choice kids, right? Baby goats, infant goats, so that I may prepare from them savory food for your father, such as he likes. And you shall take it to your father to eat, so that he may bless you before he dies." Because we only have a little bit of blessing to go around. But Jacob said to his mother, Rebekah, "Look, my brother Esau is a hairy man, and I'm a man of smooth skin. Perhaps my father will feel me, touch my arm or something, and I shall seem to be mocking him and bring a curse on myself and not a blessing." His mother said to him, "Let your curse be on me, my son. Only obey my word and go. Get them for me. Let's get to this. Get hopping." So he went and got them and brought them to his mother. And his mother prepared savory food, such as his father loved. Then Rebekah took the best garments of her elder son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them on her younger son Jacob. And she put the skins of the kids on his hands and on the smooth part of his neck, or maybe, I'm not sure, the front and maybe the back. Then she handed the savory food and the bread that she had prepared to her son Jacob. So he went in to his father and said, "My father." And he said, "Here I am. Who are you, my son?" Jacob said to his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Now sit up and eat of my game, so that you may bless me." But Isaac said to his son, "How is it that you have found it so quickly, my son?" He answered, "Because the Lord your God granted me success." Then Isaac said to Jacob, "Come near, that I may feel you, my son, to know whether you are really my son Esau or not." So Jacob went up to his father Isaac, who felt him, and said, "The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau." He did not recognize him, because his hands were hairy, like his brother Esau's hands. I mean, that's pretty hairy, you know what I'm saying? So he blessed him. He said, "Are you really my son Esau?" He said, "I am." Then he said, "Bring it to me, that I may eat of my son's game and bless you." So he brought it to him, and he ate. And he brought him wine, and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, "Come near and kiss me, my son." So he came near and kissed him, and he smelled the scent of his garments and blessed him, and said, "Ah, the smell of my son is like the smell of a field that the Lord has blessed. May God give you of the dew of heaven and of the fatness of the earth, and plenty of grain and wine. Let peoples serve you and nations bow down to you. Be lord over your brothers, and may your mother's sons, so your brother and his descendants, bow down to you. Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be everyone who blesses you. We just need to pause for a moment on this because I'm just really uncomfortable with the whole thing. And when you're in a tradition that reads this story at all, I don't know how they handle it in any given situation, but I know that no one ever had a really interesting, compelling challenge to this story in my upbringing. They may have said it, I just didn't hear it because I came from a tradition that in general had a positivistic reading of all of scripture, and somehow we're supposed to be okay with this fact that Jacob and his mother, and we're pinning it on Rebekah, it was her idea, right? Trick Isaac. I'm just not okay with it. I'm just not okay with any of this. This makes me cranky and angry, right? It's like, why? What's the point? Why are we depicting a family that is deceitful with each other and sneaky? And why? What's wrong with Esau? Why is there only one blessing? Why, why? I feel like a 3-year-old, I'm not okay with any of it. Why are we being deceitful and deceptive? I don't approve. And I also am not super comfortable with all these blessings that include cursing your enemies. I'm not okay with it. And we had it back in Genesis 12 where God promises to bless those who bless him and curse those who curse Abraham. And when God says it, it's awful to me. But we're saying it here as well. Cursed be anyone who curses you, and blessed be everyone who blesses you. Like, why do you have to bring up cursing your enemies all the time? It just makes me, why? Why do we have to do that? So anyway, let's see if there are any, where is the love at? That's what I'm saying, Constellation Pegasus. Yeah. So more farmer favored by smelling like fields. These people would, exactly. Yes, I do think that there's a commentary being made about a masculine versus an effeminate, feminized kind of version of a human in terms of the twin brothers, obviously fraternal twin brothers, Esau and Jacob. I do think that is part of what's being said here, right? The kind of hyper masculine because he's super hairy. Esau loves to hunt game and, is good at it. And then you've got Jacob, the fair, smooth skinned, so not super hairy, liked to live among the tents, was very good cook, all the things that are much more feminine roles, those kinds of things. That is absolutely part of what's being said here. But I don't think it's fully drawn out. I don't think the implications of that duality and based on what are really interesting gender norms today might have also been very present on a certain level then as well. I don't think the implications of Jacob as the one who's being sneaky and getting away with things and is also then successful as a leader, I don't think that is fully teased out at any point in these scriptures, but they just kind of remain right there below the surface, right? Like, why is, this is interesting. I'm more interested, and again, right now, because I just don't hear it very often, I hear people throwing Rebekah under the bus here because she has chosen to be sneaky toward her husband or her man and her husband. And she's chosen a child that she likes more than the other. And she's teamed up with him and she makes sure he succeeds. And there's just a negativity there and a judgment and criticism of her, which I think on some level is valid, but also I think it's not entirely just her fault, right? So it's the system, it's the whatever, and it just bugs me that it is what it is. So anyway, so let's just acknowledge that there isn't good communication between Isaac and Rebekah, or she wouldn't need to be sneaky. I just think that's a good thing. That's a basic thing we could state. So moving on, as soon as Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, when Jacob had scarcely gone out from the presence of his father Isaac, his brother Esau came in from his hunting. He also prepared savory food and brought it to his father. And he said to his father, "Let my father sit up and eat of his son's game so that you may bless me." His father Isaac said to him, "Who are you?" He answered, "I'm your firstborn son, Esau." Isaac trembled violently and said, "Who was it then that hunted game and brought it to me, and I ate it all before you came? And I've blessed him. Yes, and blessed he shall be." It's really interesting claims about, uh, you know, saying it and it is so, right? When Esau heard his father's words, he cried out with an exceedingly great and bitter cry and said to his father, "Bless me also, father." But he said, "Your brother came deceitfully, and he's taken away your blessing. Nothing I could do about it." What is that anyway, right? What is that? Esau said, "Is he not rightly named Jacob?" Someone who supplants, right? "For he has supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and look, now he's taken away my blessing." And then he said, "Have you not reserved a blessing for me?" Isaac answered Esau, "I've already made him your lord. I've given him all his brothers as servants, and with grain and wine I have sustained him. What then can I do for you, my son?" Esau said to his father, "Have you only one blessing, father? Bless me also, father." It's kind of interesting, isn't it? This whole life he'd been expecting to get the blessing, right? That's what the culture says. That's what the family says. And now that he's on the receiving end of what Jacob would have been on the receiving end of, he doesn't like it so much. It's really interesting. Why is there scarcity of blessing, right? Why can you only bless one? It's so fascinating to me. And I'm sure there are maybe cultural and even economic reasons for that on a certain level. But really, and I love the fact that because Isaac said it, it is true. He has blessed him. He has said that you shall be lord over your brothers. Like, I love that. And I hate it all the same time, right? I love the fact that that works somehow. All right. So then his father Isaac answered, "Have you only one blessing, father? Bless me also." And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. Then his father Isaac answered him, and this is in poetic form also. "See, away from the fatness of the earth shall your home be, and away from the dew of heaven on high. By your sword you shall live, and you shall serve your brother. But when you break loose, you shall break his yoke from your neck." It's kind of an interesting blessing, kind of the reserves, right, at the very bottom of the barrel. Now Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing with which his father had blessed him, and Esau said to himself, "The days of mourning for my father are approaching. Then I will kill my brother Jacob." But the words of her elder son Esau were told to Rebekah. So she sent and called her younger son Jacob and said to him, "Your brother Esau is consoling himself by planning to kill you. Now, therefore, my son, obey my voice. Flee at once to my brother Laban of Haran, and stay with him a while until your brother's fury turns away. Until your brother's anger against you turns away and he forgets what you have done to him. Then I will send and bring you back from there. Why should I lose both of you in one day?" Then Rebekah said to Isaac, "I am weary of my life because of the Hittite women." So Esau's two wives. "If Jacob marries one of the Hittite women, such as these, one of the women of the land, what good will my life be to me?" um, all kinds of things going on here. There was one thing I wanted to say, and I want to say it now before I forget. So we know that this has taken place, right? That according to the story, Isaac blessed Jacob instead of Esau. And then things play out between the two brothers for a while. But ultimately, Jacob's children are the heads of the tribes of Israel, right? And Jacob, we're going to read the story here in just a second. The story of Jacob wrestling with an angel, a representative of God, and then he's renamed in the morning. And so his name changes from Jacob to Israel. And So it is Jacob who's the head of the tribes of Israel. Well, it's worth noting for those of you who are into this kind of thing that when you look at the oracles against the nations in the book of the prophet Amos, there are proclamations against all these different groups of people and the things they've done, and primarily it's things like you've captured your neighbors and sold them, you've kidnapped them and sold them to other people, so you've sold your neighbors into slavery, or you've conquered people and cut open the bellies of pregnant women, and you've done all kinds of terrible things. And if you read the one on the Edomites, I should have actually had this open, and I didn't think to have it open to it because I just wanted to refer to it, but then I thought maybe I should just read it real quick. Amos, Obadiah, Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum. Okay, let me just read it real quick because it's really fascinating. To Moab, Judah, 3 transgressions of Israel. I guess I've already passed. Oh, there. Sorry, I've already passed it. Let's see. Damascus, Gaza, Tyre, Edom. Thus says the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Edom and for 4. So we're talking about the descendants of Esau, right? Edom. I will not revoke the punishment. So that's the thing that's said over and over and over in this book of Amos. And here's what his issue is, right? Others have threshed people with threshing sledges of iron, or they've carried entire communities into exile, right? They've done these terrible things. And Edom, because he pursued his brother with a sword and cast off all pity, he maintained his anger perpetually and kept his wrath forever. The Edomites are being judged for having held a grudge against the Israelites for over 800 years. I just think that's kind of funny that there is a grudge, and there was supposed to be a blessing for Esau and his descendants, and it goes to Jacob, and the Edomites are kind of annoyed by that, and it lasts for multiple generations. I just think that's really interesting. Okay, so right, she hears that he's gonna kill his brother. Rebekah warns him, and then she's like, oh my gosh. She turns to her husband, to her man Isaac, and is like, if Jacob also marries Hittite women, I don't think I can handle this, right? Okay. So moving into part of chapter 28, it's short, and it's a good part to read for story time, and it's ultimately related. So let's just do it. Then Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him. Okay, it is interesting, right? We're seeing the way this patchwork happens, right? In the Torah, the patching together of the biblical, because he's already done that, right? He did it a chapter or so ago, and now we're having it again. Probably just a different tradition, right? Anyway, I don't know if I have a thing for my hair. Anyway, this keeps falling in my face. So Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him. You shall not marry one of the Canaanite women. Go at once to Padan Aram, to the house of Bethuel, your mother's father, so your grandfather, and take as a woman from there one of the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. So go get one of your cousins, okay? May God Almighty bless you and make you fruitful and numerous, that you may become a company of peoples. May he give to you the blessing of Abraham, to you and to your offspring with you, so that you may take possession of the land wherever you now live as an alien, land that God gave to Abraham. Someone should go through and count the number of times that promise is made to Abraham and his descendants in the Hebrew Bible. It's pretty stunning. There's a reason why people still hold on to it as if it really was a thing, historically speaking. So, may you take possession of the land where you now live as an alien, land that God gave to Abraham. Thus Isaac sent Jacob away, and he went to Padan Aram, to Laban, son of Bethuel, the Aramean, the brother of Rebekah, Jacob's and Esau's mother. Now Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob and sent him away to Padan Aram to take a woman from there, and then he blessed him and charged him, you shall not marry one of the Canaanite women. And that Jacob had obeyed his father and his mother and gone to Padan Aram. So when Esau saw that the Canaanite women did not please his father Isaac, Esau went to Ishmael, his uncle, right? His great uncle. Sorry, no, his uncle, Isaac and Ishmael. Sorry, let me back up. Esau went to Ishmael, his uncle, who'd been cast out, but also made into a great nation of peoples, and took Mahalath, daughter of Abraham's son Ishmael, and sister of Nebaioth, to be his woman, in addition to the women he had. When Esau learned that the two women he had taken as his wives made his father unhappy, he took another one. And in fact, he took another woman, not just of the Canaanites, of any kind of Canaanites, but of the family that had been cast out, right? The disowned uncle and his descendants. It's really interesting in terms of, I don't know, human nature maybe, or what happens when people aren't well loved and the kinds of vengeful things they try to do to each other. That poor woman is in the midst of a fight that she doesn't even know is happening. You know what I mean? And she's got no say in the matter. She's just been purchased, and so she belongs to him. So poor woman has to deal with that. But really interesting. And so, is that really what happened? Is that really what somebody did? I don't care, but it is setting up more and more tension between these two groups of people, right? Jacob left Beersheba and went toward Haran. He came to a certain place and stayed there for the night because the sun had set. Taking one of the stones of the place, he put it under his head and lay down in that place. I have always wondered about that. What in the world? Who puts their head on a rock to go to sleep? I don't understand that at all. I have never understood that. And I've just never been in a space where I had a place to be able to say that. I'm like, I don't get that. I do not put my... Anyway. I guess if you're in a desert type region, that actually is the only thing that's not going to like give way and like, like sand. Anyway. Taking one of the stones, he put it on his head, lay down in that place. And he dreamed that there was a ladder set up on the earth, or stairway, or ramp, depends. The top of it reaching to heaven. And the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. And the Lord stood beside him and said, or stood over it and said, I am the Lord, the God of Abraham, your father, and the God of Isaac. The land on which you lie, I will give to you and to your offspring. And your offspring shall be like the dust of the earth, and you shall spread abroad to the west and to the east and to the north and to the south. And all the families of the earth shall be blessed in you and in your offspring. Know that I am with you and will keep you wherever you go and will bring you back to this land. For I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you. Then I just want to comment on this so I don't forget. Is anyone else sitting here wondering, why do we keep saying the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and not the God of Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah? Right? Is anyone else wondering that? What verse with the rock? That is chapter 28, verse 11. Yeah. Anyone else just kind of sick and tired of the whole tradition being talked about through the men only and naming only the men, only the men, only the men? The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. How many times have we heard that if you grew up in a Jewish or Christian setting? Why is it just the men? Why are we only naming the men over and over and over and over again? It just makes me, I just get cranky thinking about having to read this out loud even, much less just how much I took in by this language and this framing. It's all about the men. Okay, so let me move on. So this is what the Lord says to him in his dream. Know that I'm with you and will keep you wherever you go and will bring you back to this land, for I will not leave you until I've done what I have promised you. These are really interesting claims to make, given how they never fully came to fruition in the last 3,600 years, right? Then Jacob woke from his sleep and said, Surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it." And he was afraid and said, "How awesome is this place! This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven." I just recently met someone who does who likes to read these kinds of stories and parables and just segments through kind of a psychological lens, which I think is actually a really helpful way to read some of these stories. I'm not well prepared to do that, but I think that can be a very helpful, especially when it comes to dreams and things. But Heather Hamilton has a book called Returning to Eden. I haven't read it yet. I have a copy on my desk. But she does that kind of a basic, kind of reading through a psychological lens, which makes thinking of it as literalistic doesn't even matter, doesn't even apply. So it might be of interest to some of you all. I don't know. Anyway, so Jacob rose early in the morning, and he took the stone that he had put under his head and set it up for a pillar and poured oil on the top of it. He called that place Bethel, but the name of the city was Luz at the first. Then Jacob made a vow, saying, "If God will be with me, I will keep me in this way that I go, and will give me bread to eat and clothing to wear, so that I come again to my father's house in peace, then the Lord shall be my God. And this stone, which I have set up for a pillar, shall be God's house. And of all that you give me, I will surely give 1/10 to you." I forgot that the story wrestling, it happens later in a couple chapters, after he already has Jacob and Rachel and Leah. Anyway, so that's chapter 28, the end of 28. And here, we could make all kinds of interesting comments about this story, that a single rock becomes a pillar. It does not. But anyway, if it's big enough to make an altar out of it, it was too big to put his head on. I don't know. I can't get there. I can't go there because that's not how we're meant to read it. I can't help but do it anyway. So what are we learning about marriage? What are we learning about any form of sex? What are we learning about any of this stuff? I mean, Esau is using marriage as a way to get revenge at his father and potentially even his brother. Long-term vision. Women are still very much property. Women are placed in situations where they don't actually get to have reasonable conversations with their partners, the men they're married to. So they have to do sneaky shit like that, like Rebekah does. There are all kinds of things going on here, but there isn't a whole lot that's positive. I do like to focus on or highlight when there's something positive so that we can celebrate it. But I don't see anything terribly positive here. I do see parents trying to pass along goodness to their children. I think that's a good thing. We could look at that if you want. If they both wanted that for their children, that's about it, right? And Rebekah protecting Jacob from being killed by his homicidal brother. I don't know. But yeah, the other pieces of the patriarchal nature of the culture and the belief that there is only one blessing to give, things to think about. Anyway, I'm seeing there's a kind of a fun little chit chat going on over here, which I don't see any questions. Yeah, women are just going along for the ride, yada yada. So happy that there's some people here chatting amongst yourselves, enjoying the chat, and that's all there is for today. Tomorrow we are going to read about Jacob and him procuring 2 sisters as his wives. I put in air quotes, and that's a really juicy one for tomorrow. And I know that I've said I would attach some things to make some charts and things available, and I have a list. I just keep forgetting to do it because I'm so exhausted after writing this that I keep forgetting to come back to this. So I'm gonna make some links and put them in the descriptions of these videos if you're interested. Obviously, no big deal. Just to try to follow through on something I said I'd do. So that's it for today. I appreciate you all being here, who are here on a Saturday. Thank you so much. I'm really touched by that. And yeah, I will see you tomorrow. And again, if you're watching this on replay, thank you. I appreciate that as well. So hope you found something useful in this, interesting, something to give you something to think about, mull over, food for thought. See you tomorrow.